Victoria Almiroty is an ISAR-CAP professional astrologer from Buenos Aires, Argentina. She speaks fluent English. She attended a British school. She has been a professional astrologer since 2001, which is an incredible amount of practical experience. She teaches advanced predictive techniques and other courses since 2016. Victoria holds a BA in business administration and a BA in psychology, and she is a licensed psychologist. Victoria is working full-time with clients, both professionally as an astrologer and a psychologist in her private practice. Victoria is a recent widow, so she speaks on happiness and how to live it through the astrology chart with knowledge of also the suffering that can arise in a human life. She's also a mother of two boys, now 16 and 14. She's deeply explored the astrological correlations between parents and children and how to work with children in a healthy way as a parent through the understanding of astrology. This personal experience has enriched her courses and webinars, making them some of her most exceptional offerings. She brings a unique blend of psychological insight and astrological expertise to her practice. Victoria is recognized for her innovative teaching methods and personalized approach. And without any further ado, let's welcome Victoria. And congratulations, Victoria. We are so excited to hear your presentation today.
Thank OPA Astrology for having me, and thanks everyone for coming to this presentation. As Dorji said, I'm from Argentina, the end of the world. I'm a Virgo. Mercury is in shadow, you know. I'm fluent in English, but it's not my native language. So please be patient with me and be very, very nice. I'll do as best as I can. Okay, so let's start. So first things first, happiness in astrology. So we are going to revisit your chart with positive psychology, which is a branch of psychology that focuses on the positive side of you, no? On your talents, on your tools. Okay, so first things first again, today as we journey through our astrology presentation using the slides, I'll be quickly touching some concepts that may be very easy to grasp on your own. But so my focus will be on delving deeper into topics that require more clarification and explanation. So this will be sent to you so you can either screenshot some of the slides, which I will not read all of them, but there's a lot of content. Again, I'm a Virgo with a Capricorn rising, so I'm very ambitious. And a sun in the 9th house, I want to show you everything in less than an hour. I won't be able to do that, so please be patient. Screenshot, and again, you will receive this later, and you can replay it. So what is happening? What is happening? What is happiness? So we have two approaches to happiness. So one approach is the hedonistic, and the other is eudaimonic. The hedonistic approach of happiness, here it comes both from ancient Greek. Hedonism is euphoria, is the senses, is having positive emotions over negative, but it's focused more on the external factors. And happiness equals pleasure, equals ephemeral gratification. While the other side, the other aspect of happiness, which is a deeper, is the eudaimonism, and this comes from Aristotle, and this means good spirit, you know, good well-being. It's an inner peace. It's a good spirit. Happiness is something internal, not external, and it's about being. It can only be corroborated by yourself. So the focus is on being and peaceful inner state. So happiness is a state of well-being lasting in time. This is very aligned with Buddhism. So if you're interested in the philosophical aspect of happiness, here is the book of Aristotle, which I recommend, and you can delve deeper on these concepts. Okay, then we come back to the modern times, and Martin Seligman, who paradoxically dedicated most of his life to study depression, realized that you could also study what works better in what people do have working in their lives, what is flourishing in them, what tools do they have. When I have a patient and as a psychologist, and they tell me all the bad things that happen to them in 1 week, and I tell them in the weekly sessions, I tell them, okay, now tell me the good things. Oh, I went to a party. Oh, I met an old friend. Oh, my partner brought me a flower. Okay, tell me more about that, so like realizing what other things we're taking for granted, and what are the things we're not using, doing, or asking for. Okay. So Martin, he's from the United States, says life inflicts the same setbacks and tragedies on both the optimist and the pessimist. Only the optimist withstands them better. So, and optimism is not a wishful thinking; it's a practical optimism, which we'll see later. So, traditional psychology used to, still does it, focus on mentally unwell and things that are not going very good in your life. Positive astrology means growing, flourishing, and making your garden flourish, bloom, and grow. So traditional astrology is weeding your garden, taking out everything that is not good. And positive psychology is about growing. So we should have both. You can have like traditional psychology approach and listening, but you can have interventions from the positive psychology. And if you work with consultants in astrology, you can use positive psychology to give some recommendations, because astrology is more diagnostic and it's not therapy. Astrology is not therapy. It's mostly, unless you're a counselor or psychologist or coach, but it's more diagnostic astrology. But with positive psychology, you can suggest some interventions so that the client also gets inspired by what to do after the whole astrological reading. Well, here you have about the story of the birth of positive psychology. Prior to the 90s, psychology largely focused on pathology, illness, and negative aspects, while Seligman argued for a more balanced approach that emphasizes strengths and virtues. So positive psychology focuses on happiness, well-being, the practical side of positivity, strengths, resilience, and flourishing. So what makes life worth living? So, and how individuals and communities can thrive. Okay, so this, if you want to take screenshot, and so positive psychology started in 1998. Okay, so it's very young. Well, positive astrology, founder Martin Seligman was the founder of positive psychology, started between these years. And one question we have to ask ourselves is to feel happiness or to be happiness, no? Or to be happy. Lasting happiness is a state. So it's an inner state of well-being, sustainable in time. And that's a concept we are going to aim at, no? And Buddha said 1600 before Christ, the opposite of happiness is expectation, no? So the external validation, the external aspect of happiness is gratification, but lasting happiness comes from inside. So that's what we are going to see. For example, in the area of your chart where you have Neptune and Pisces, is where you can enter a state of flow, harmony without definition. State of flow is when, if you have an art area in your life, maybe you play an instrument, or you like gardening, or you like writing, or you like painting, so maybe you enter a state of flow where you forget about being thirsty or hungry or tired, where your energy grows, and you feel like your kundalini energy, or your chi, or whatever you call it, enhances, where you feel more positive, and where you will always be feeling good in that area. So artists have this privilege of being able to enter a state of flow, no? So that is, for example, an aspect or a manifestation of happiness in this definition. Okay, so what is happiness for psychology nowadays? A pleasant life, daily gratifications. So gratifications are important. Then day-to-day life, which you like, and then the most challenging or more transcendent aspect is having a meaningful life, contributing to the greater good. Like here, we are enjoying this talk, we are enriching ourselves with skills, and then we can work with other people, and we can help contribute the astrological community and consultants and other people, and inspiring. And if more people are at peace with themselves, we can have like a domino effect and this talk can have a small contribution. We can go greater as if you continue sharing this information with other people. So having gratifications, having a good life for yourself, and then doing a meaningful contribution to your society. Okay, so most of you must have heard about this 8+ year Harvard research about the meaning of life and what is happening, what is happiness, and what is happiness for human beings. And the conclusion is that happy people are more social. So after 80 years of study about happiness at Harvard University, the people that were happiest during all that time were the ones that had meaningful relations and social connections. And that does not close to partners, to boyfriend, girlfriends, husband, wife. No, friends, having friends, like a small or a medium or a large network of friends. That is the key to lasting happiness. So I'm very happy with you to share this presentation and this work, and everybody that is here, even though we are not seeing each other right now, we're doing something social, we are sharing. So I hope this is a happy experience for you in that sense as well. So then you have what is positive therapy and how can you apply it in astrological practice. For example, you can have a consultant, or you yourself can say, oh, in my family we have the curse of being out of work at 8:45, and a therapist or a astrologer with a positive perspective can say, it seems that at that age they are able to free themselves from very low jobs, very bad paid or very bad conditions, fourth grade jobs, so maybe that's the time and the age where most people get free from jobs that they didn't like very much. And the patient or the consultant usually says, what a positive vision, I hadn't thought about it. It's like the resignification of what apparently is it's a bad news. If you get laid off, you're going to be sad, you're going to be worried about economic things, but then you have to work the resilience, transform the negative into positive. Okay, what a great opportunity to see if I can be what I want to be in this life, what I was meant to be, what I have always wanted to be for myself. So being happy also has an ingredient of courage and intelligence. So I love this. I show it to all of my clients, astro consultants, and patients. So the box on the right, you have the problem. The problem is the dot. Everybody has problems. We all have problems. We all have challenges. And the problem and the solution is not in the problem itself, but the rest of your life. If you have a very small life, you only you have like a job that you don't like, very little social life, and you seldom leave your house, then your problems are going to define your life, most of your life. But if you have friends, you have, I don't know, sports, artistic interest, you like astrology, you have your astrology community, you have OPA, if you have other things in your life, then you find lots of gratification and energy in those other areas of your life. And then you can go through this problem you can navigate the noise of your problems with another spirit and with an inner well-being. Yes, feeling an inner peace in spite of the noise. Okay, so maybe it's not the problem, but the rest of your life. No, that's something very important, like where do you find gratification? Where do you have to find peace? Where you recharge energy? Where do you to have meaningful connections, some kind of social life where you can blow some steam. You have some art where you can sublimate. You like writing, whatever you can do, to enrich your life. We cannot avoid problems. We can enrich our source of gratification. So, resilience in the chart, this is very important. We are going to see it in the next set of slides. So in astrology, our work often involves acting as tutor of resilience. We give the client an alternative and constructive look so that they can make sense of the situation. We are going to look for vitality, brightness, and strength. Yes. So what is good in their natal chart? Most people go to astrological consultation telling you there are problems, but we can also remind them what it is working their chart, what is good in their chart. For me, everything is good, but I understand people, sometimes they are afraid about some transits. So first things first, most people know something about astrology and they tell you, oh, my Pluto, my Saturn, my Mars. Okay, first things first, Pluto, Saturn, and Mars, they have to be somewhere in the chart. So, I have Saturn here, there. Yes, it has to be somewhere. So don't worry, everybody has those planets. Then, oh no, I'm a Sun in Aquarius. I have a Mars in Libras. This is not a very good dignity. Okay, you shine being different, Sun in Aquarius. Mars in Libra, great, you're a diplomat. But so don't, I don't believe in that doomness that sometimes astrology can bring, that negative, like neurotic astrology, when you get obsessed about your chart and some aspects of it. Retrograde planets are fantastic, are amazing. For example, this Mercury is direct, it works more like Gemini. If you have a Mercury retrograde, it works more like a Virgo, like the second domicile. If you have a Mars direct, your Mars is more like Aries. If you have a Mars retrograde, it works more like a Mars in Scorpius, strategic, profound, deep, psychological, transformative. So chooses differently, very wisely. So again, retrograde planets are late bloomers in that areas, and they are very different. And for example, Demi Moore, she has a Venus retrograde in her natal chart. She has always been an actress, Demi Moore, and she has always depicted different sides of being a woman. So it's very interesting. So it's more creative and far more complex and challenging and rich for me. 10th aspect. So if you have, I have a Grand Cross, or I have a Moon square Mars, my Pluto and Venus are square. Great. Squares, and 10th aspects put in motion your willpower, your discipline, and gives you a strong character. My second son has a big red square, with several, like three, three grand crosses, which are oppositions and four squares. And, he has the willpower of a Titan. So I've seen many cases. So, and when you see many triangles and trines and sextiles, which is fantastic, welcome. Yes, but sometimes those people, they don't always achieve their goals. While if you have those 10 aspects, that will give you the willpower and the strength of character and the guidance to reach higher goals, if that's what you want in life. Saturn is one of the most important. It's so funny because for the ancients, for Mars and Saturn were the worst planets. For me, are the most important. And now we'll see in the happiness formula why Mars is the most important planet in the natal chart for me and for other astrologers that I found the same, that we agreed on. Saturn is also very important because it's your bones, your column, It sets boundaries, use authority, takes responsibility, self-sufficiency, and happiness is reaching goals with hard works and literally forever. You know, Saturn doesn't leave an imprint. Saturn leaves a fossil, you know, like forever. So where you have your Saturn, you can leave an eternal legacy. Pluto, intensity, resilience, go for the truth, to the bone, healer, powerful. Again, resilience, no, you know, like the rebirth. Accept what you cannot change instead of consuming yourself, and sublimate in an elevated endeavor. You know, your Pluto, if you have a very prominent Pluto in your natal chart, like I have, then you have to transform. Don't fight it, just transform and try to be in places where they allow you to transform. Like, thank you again, OPA, for giving me the opportunity to show this different side of astrology, making a use of my Pluto in my 10th house, conjunct Venus. Okay, so I will go for my second set of slides. George, so far so good?
Everything is fantastic so far, Victoria. Thank you.
Okay, my Spanish, my English is understandable.
Completely. Yes. Yeah. Please keep going. This is like I'm like a sponge absorbing everything you're giving here. This is fantastic.
Okay, thanks, thanks, fellow ninth house enthusiasm. Okay, so which is the happiness equation? Yes, in psychology, you have mathematics as well, the formulas. So this is, for me, when I studied psychology, is the most important thing I ever learned, and said, okay, now it was worth the energy and worth the money and the opportunity cost of starting this career, because I studied, I had this degree in 2012, you know, yes, like 12 years ago, our Jupiter return. So the happiness equation, happiness is usually associated with euphoria, exaltation of the senses, what I told you before, the Dionysian versus the Apollonian approaches, no, the hedonism versus eudaimonism. But positive psychology redefines that as state of well-being and fulfillment sustained over time, because gratifications are like comets, you know, they're ephemeral. But happiness is sustainable over time in this presentation and in this perspective. So this, to have a positive approach and to navigate the noise of problems, you have to have strength that the person has to develop and can be developed anytime during your lifetime. So the equation for enduring, not fleeting happiness is the ability to be happy, which is the set point, added to life circumstances and added to voluntary action and choices. So again, happiness, H, equals. S is the biology. Not everybody is chemically balanced to be happy. Some people, you know, can reach a 10th level of happiness, and some people can reach a 3rd level of happiness. So biologically, genetically, some people are wired for feeling more happiness, and some people are chemically wired to feeling less happiness. Maybe they have a melancholic personality trait, or maybe they have some genes and some challenging mental illness that are hereditary. So there is a biological component in happiness. Okay, then you have the circumstances where you born in Africa, where you born in a 4th world country, or in a developing country, and maybe you didn't have proper, drinkable water. Maybe you were born in a very poor place. Maybe your parents were addicts. Maybe you were surrounded by terrible and challenging circumstances, which you cannot control. So you cannot control your genetics when you're born, and you cannot control consciously, in this lifetime at least, where you were born and the parents. So the biologically, the genetic and the circumstances are random, apparently, no? But then you have the willpower, and here's where psychology works and where astrology works. So willpower, so the voluntary actions and choices you make. So the most important part, this accounts for more than 50% of your happiness. So you can blame your genetics. Oh, I have to take medication because my grandmother was bipolar, my mother was bipolar, and so, okay, Terrible, I agree. Horrible, empathy. I'm so sorry. Yes. Okay, now let's find a treatment. It's very hard. It's not going to be easy. I know. And yes, I'm from Argentina, very volatile economy. Every 10 years we lose all our money. It's terrible, everything that has happened. Here in Argentina, we're all survivors. Many people from Latin American countries can relate. Very, very volatile, lots of insecurity. Okay, I couldn't control that. But then your voluntary actions and choices. Okay, maybe if I study English, maybe if I have a BA in psychology, maybe if I work in a job I don't like but earn a lot of money, then maybe with that I can pay what I really like and where I would like to live. So maybe not. Can change my circumstances if I work on my willpower, and that willpower is Mars. So look, if you already read it in the slide, think about your Mars in your chart, because that's the most important planet, and that's the muscle you need to find the happiness you want in life and your client. So Mars is the god of war, desire, eros, the erotic side, will, motivation, strength, grit, activation. Okay, so look for Mars in your chart. So the opposite of depression is activation, and that is Mars mainly. The opposite of anxiety is exposure. So if you have anxiety, have you heard about do more of that of what you are afraid of? Like if you're scared of planes, then you should take more flights. Or if you're scared of well, I don't know if spiders is a good example, but if you're scared of highways, if you're scared of elevators, so you should gradually get exposed to that. Mars, you have a depression with the help of a therapist, and it's not easy, but many of us can relate with depression because most of us can understand what that is. And activation, okay, start making the bed, clean your night table, drink a glass of water. Activation, small step or big step. Activation. So Mars is the most important, is our warrior, our healer. So be aware of your Mars. Be aware of your Mars. I don't know if sorry, there was a slide. No, I erased it. Okay. So be aware of your Mars. Mars in fire, you're fast, sometimes out of control, impulsive, has to come out no matter what. You have to regulate. You can also see the aspects. Mars in Earth, I have a Mars in Taurus, practical, evidence-seeking, concrete, result-oriented, prepares. I have a Mars in Taurus again, and so I'm always thinking in the long run. I'm always I'm always taking my time to do things, and I activate slowly, but very steady. Mars in air, talking, telling, exchange information, taking distance, taking perspective, negotiating, talking therapy. Mars in water is inward, doesn't react fast, seeks security, goes where the affection is, needs a lot of, emotional transference with someone and with yourself, with your inner world to activate. So different forms and types of activation, which we have to respect and understand. How to expand? Grab your Mars. How do we go from this problem not defining your life and having a life that helps you navigate your problems and gives you the energy to tackle these problems and solve it, or make the best out of it? So grab your Mars and expand your life. Easier said than done. Okay, attention. Please forgive me, as I had to trim down the material to fit in an hour and had to correct AI-generated images, okay? So these are our new problems, we have to correct AI. So, but it saves you a lot of time. So, okay, now we are going in uncharted territory. I'm going to, in the time I have left, present you with things you can look in your chart which are not as obvious as Jupiter and Venus and your fifth house. and your fire signs, and your fire, where are your fire signs, where are your fire houses. You can, we will see that, but you can do that mostly on your own. So I will focus on things that are less well known. So there are 3 asteroids that add details and subtleties to the chart. These asteroids are around Jupiter. So thanks Jupiter, which is literally a protector, because if Jupiter didn't exist, all these rocks would have destroyed the planet Earth long ago. So the asteroids are abundance, fame, and Midas. Abundancia is literally abundance, which is now at 23 degrees of Aries. Okay, they are very fast. They take 3 to 6 years to the return to the natal place. Fame is literally where are you well known, so your fame can help you, your good name, your being well known. It's now at 0 Cancer. Midas is the Midas touch. What you touch becomes gold. So this is now at 25th Aries. So good for the cardinal axis. So how do you calculate this in your natal chart? So go to astro.com. So additional objects, and then manual entry. These are the numbers of the asteroid. If you didn't understand this, don't worry. Just put in Google or in your search engine, put Abundation, Fema, Midas, astro.com, how to calculate. Okay, but it's very easy. Okay, so Astro Abundancia, okay, it's a Roman goddess. It's a 4 years return, and she was success and prosperity. So today is in 22 degrees of Aries, and she can show you where in the chart you can have a feelings that everything is possible. See, yes, and of course you can look it in transits. The transit aspects of planets moving to natal abundance, and aspects of the transit of abundance to Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, and conjunctions, sextiles, and trines. And most important is look where abundance is in your natal chart. Look, and that's where the beliefs and patterns related to abundance and financial opportunities and the flow of resources in a person's lives are. So find that asteroid in your natal chart, then you can look for the transits. But first, try to understand what this other layer of your beliefs in the abundance is and where it is habilitated. Then you have fame, with a good name always helps, and Midas. What you touch, you becomes gold, becomes something very valuable. So Astro of Fame is where notoriety, prominence, or fame, infamy, if you're a person that uses this against honestly conceived things, can be achieved. So fame now is a 0 of Cancer, good for people with Moon, Sun, as Cancer ascendant. Then you have Midas. Midas is often prominent on lists on charts of wealthy people. Midas shows where you have the Midas touch, where what you touch becomes gold. Howard Hughes, which was a very well-known filmmaker and producer, a millionaire, has Midas on the cusp. On his second house of money, conjunct Neptune, which is associated with movie making. No, so on Midas now is 25 degrees of Aries, now October 25. Okay, then I can give you examples. For example, Mahatma Gandhi has Mars, our most important planet, in its second domicile, Scorpio, conjunct abundance. I could talk about it for hours. Then Mother Teresa, she has abundance, also conjunct Mars. Her Mars is in 8th house, and she accompanied people to have a dignified death, a good quality of life in their last moments. Then you have Shakira. She has Mars in Capricorn, exalted in 10th house, and she has abundance in 5th house of art. She has fame in 8th house with Uranus, and Midas touch in the third house. She's very good communication, but she's very talented. She composes, she plays the instruments, she has a very good voice. She's a very skilled negotiator. Well, she's very complete artist. When you have Taylor Swift, she has a Mars in Scorpios. You know how important Mars is? Well, people that you can tell. Sometimes I read and listen and hear or see, reels about these people. And I ask myself, does Taylor Swift's days have 24 hours as mine? How can they do so many things? Well, that's Mars. She has Mars in the first house of herself. And so she just has to show up and do it for herself. In Scorpios, she has the Midas touch conjunct the sun. So whatever she touches becomes gold. And she, more than me, most people here are from the US. She has fame conjunct Mercury, very interesting chart, abundance in the 11th house. And she has a very, her network of friends is very important to her and her vision of future. And very interesting. She has a very strong second and eighth axis, and both her parents were related to finance in one way or the other. So she had lots of financial education from very young age. So that's also very interesting. Okay, now completely change of subject. Another place where you can find inspiration about what makes you happiness in the long run. So the happiness midpoint, sometimes called the marriage point. I think it's obsolete to call the marriage midpoint because happiness for the ancients was marriage. Now it's more friends than couples, because we live longer. So things change more, while friends tend to be more stable on a case-by-case basis, of course. So the happiness midpoint is a mathematical point, the exact midpoint between the sun and the moon, the marriage of the sun and the moon, of the self and the heart, communion with oneself, and very close relationships. So the sun-moon midpoint, because the most frequent reason for consultation are human relations. So this point illuminates the way to enjoy where I find expressions of happiness, especially through very close bonds, friends or partners. So how you calculate your sun-moon midpoint? Google calculate sun-moon midpoint AstroSeek, and that's very easy. You ingress your natal information and it appears. So here you have Jennifer Aniston. She has a sun in Aquarius and a moon in Sagittarius. The midpoint, the midpoint between these both luminaries is here. It's in 23 degrees of Capricorns. So where is the happiness from this point of view? In the third house. Communication, reality check, Capricorn, practical thinking, serious mind. And she produced and acted as a formal TV anchor in a recent TV series, which she played very well. And I think she should continue doing it in the real life, no? And it's very interesting because this midpoint is very strong in Brad Pitt's natal chart. So because it's on Brad Pitt's moon. So I think she was very happy with him. I don't think it was otherwise. It was the other way around. Brad Pitt has a sun in Sagittarius, moon in Capricorn. The midpoint is 9th of Capricorn and on his Mars and on his south node. So happiness for him in this technique, Capricorn again, house 2, conjunct Mars and south nodes. So he needs challenge. Angelina is moon conjunct Mars in Aries. They blending their charts very well. Needs challenge, but he also needs stability, Capricorn, and pleasure, but might tend to repeat past patterns because of the south node. So if anybody knows Brad, please let him know about this. Well, then you have Taylor Swift. She has the midpoint in 26 Virgo in the 10th house. Happiness comes from profession, hard work, public status, discipline, and service to others. Okay, and boyfriend Travis Kelce has his happiness midpoint conjunct her Pluto. So what a power couple. Here is Travis. Okay, next, Vedic astrology. This is fantastic. Vedic astrology is the Hindu astrology. It's very Baroque, It's Baroque. It's very complex. I never could grasp it completely. I think I have to be born again or delegate this to a Vedic astrologer. But I understood one thing, which is the house force, the house which is for the Indian people and the Indian philosophy, the house of joy and happiness, because joy and happiness is associated with family and the mother, in the literal and in the symbolic, metaphorical sense. So look for your fourth house, look for the ruler of your fourth house. Maybe you are lucky enough to have two rulers. Maybe you have a house 4 in Pisces, and so you have Jupiter and Neptune. So look where Jupiter and Neptune, or the ruler of your fourth house, are, and then you will find other areas where you can find happiness. I'll give you, so searching for the rulers of the natal fourth house, we find areas of greater happiness according to Vedic astrology. So Mother Teresa, she has the fourth house in Aries, and she has Mars in Virgo, service, in the 8th house of death. Shakira has a fourth house in Cancer, and the ruler is the moon, which is in its domicile in Cancer, in its house 4. So for her, the family and her kids and her parents and her hometown are very important. Okay. Next. No, I'm very mercurial. Hope you're following me. Arabic lot. This is quite complex. If you know the Arabic lots, the most well-known are the lot of fortune, where yes or yes, you will have luck in your life. Do it even if you don't do anything. Lot of spirit, where your vocation, where your really is your, not your profession, your vocation. Fortune can be more related to profession, but vocation is a lot of spirit. But then you have the lot of eros, where you find love. There are mathematical formulas which are based on adding and subtracting different distances from planets to the ascendant. That's more technical issue. Here are the formulas, but you can Google Arabic lots and AstroSeek, and it can easily say it to you. Don't use ChatGPT or AI. It's still in the early stages, but you can compare. So, and if you want to read manually, here you have the formulas. Remember, you will receive this later again. So, Arabic lots, studying Hellenistic astrology. I only, from the Hellenistic astrology, I take the positive things, because most people don't live, at mercy of Mother Nature and with no medicine and only healers and, and terrible wars. So most people don't live in a Hellenistic world. So I take what I can adapt to our modern life, okay? So there are calculations to obtain these points. Well, this is very technical. Okay, the lot of fortune and spirit. A lot of the moon, the lot of fortune is this symbol on the left, is for luck and happiness in your life, is where and how you will have luck in your life. As the ability to be in the right place at the right time to live positive experiences. I have the lot of fortune in my 12th house. So in the 12th house is a place where you have naturally, like you have it in your preconscious. You have it by default, not very conscious. And also in your inner garden. And the lot of spirit is an inner state, soul, intellect, intention, thoughts, personal aspirations, vocation, the realization of what a person wants in life, and it depends on your efforts. So you can both be seen by house, sign, and dispositor, and planets at aspect. So if this gets very complicated, just grab what you understood, okay? What I would like you to focus more is on the lot of eros, which is less talked about. Help us understand what we really want, what really make us happy in a couple, in a relationship. But also when we talk about eros and eroticism, it's not only lovers and sexual pleasures. What makes you feel more alive? Yes, it can literally be a lover, but it's also a metaphorical lover. For example, here talking to you about this, I feel like my erotic energy blooming, and because I'm very passionate, This is very, in Spanish we say, una experiencia muy vivificante, a very, yes, energetic experience. So the part of Eros means things that are pleasing to you, things that make you happy, where do you have the Eros slot, and what do you enjoy. So here, the lot of Eros is as ascendant plus spirit minus Venus. So Julia Roberts has her part of her lot of Eros in the 9th house in Pisces, and that reminds me of Eat, Pray, and Love, that movie. So international traveling, international experiences, spiritual, yes, in the 9th and Pisces. So I think her pleasures are more spiritual. Then Mother Teresa again, she has the Eros in the 4th house in Aries, so just being with her own tribe and being the leader of the tribe. Then you can look for fortune and spirit. You can analyze it on your own. Taylor Swift, again, her Eros is in the 4th house, again, family, in Pisces, 29th degree, which is the last degree of the zodiac. So that is massive because she finds joy reaching vast amounts of people, or most of the society, and I'm sure she has Venus, Pisces is very good for music and for creating and for entering in states of flow, and for music, and for reaching the masses. Okay, I love this part. Hope, George, we are fine. I still have time.
We have about 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes if you want to take some questions.
Okay, I'm going to show the guiding planet and then I go to the questions. Is that all right?
That sounds great, Victoria, however you want to do it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So the guiding planet gives you your coping strategies, tools, skills to face problems. It's the oriental planet to the sun. What I mean with this. So it's the planet that rises immediately before the sun, crosses the ascendant before the sun. Now I will show it in the chart. It's the coping strategies, attitudes, guiding qualities, and innate, that can be innate, but that can be learned. How you fight against your sea of troubles, as Hamlet says. Hamlet says to be or not to be, to fight against a sea of trouble. How do you deal with your problems? How do you tackle them? Which are how you first react in front of them, So your skill planet, which is your skill planet? Okay, so if you have a night chart, look for your sun, and the planet immediately on the left will be your guiding planet. Here is Pluto. If you have a day chart, your planet immediately on the right will be your guiding planet. Okay, so in this case, which is very rare to have Pluto as your guiding planet, means that you have a massive reaction. You want to solve it to the root. You want to go to the root of the problem. So if you have Moon as a guiding problem, emotions come first. If you have Mercury as a guiding planet, you think about it, you organize, and you're fast and expeditive. If you have Venus, you have the ability of seduction, conciliation, artistic, diplomatic skills. If you have Mars, you have a frontal attitude to every situation, very energetic. It depends on the quality, on the sign and the aspects. Jupiter can be in denial, but usually keeps high spirit in adversity. Very optimistic, but beware of being an escapist of the problem. Have a Saturn, you take it seriously. You see the harsh reality. Okay, we have to pay this debt. You have to do things right. You have to work more. You really, your hands on. Uranus with a revolution, or very creative way. Neptune, well, it's like Jupiter, maybe a slightly escapist, but also being creative, sensitive, and very poetical about it. Pluto, the rarest of positions, a profound effect, a person with great self-confidence and the ability to transcend. Beware with Pluto as a skill planet. of the end might justify the means, you know. But Sigmund Freud had Pluto, so, and he created and discovered the theory of the unconscious. So I have more and more, but I will read the questions. George, you want me to read the questions?
Hey, fantastic, Victoria. Thank you so much for the presentation. Yes, the first question is, can you please expand on what the Midas touch means? Is this confined to a person's career, or does that asteroid apply to all aspects of a person's life?
The Midas touch.
Yes, the Midas touch.
Yes, the Midas touch. So he's asking if it's only for your personal life, or also for your, or if it's only for your work life, or it's also for your personal life. No.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
It depends on where it is in your chart, because if it's in your fifth house, maybe through children, through young people, through creative endeavors, through yes, things you enjoy. Maybe it's in your seventh house. It's with partners. Maybe it's in your 10th house, so it's strictly business. So it depends where it is. But usually, Midas touch is literally where you attract gold. Gold as something that makes you financially more. Yes, better financially. So
Fantastic. Just as a follow-on, if someone has that unaspected in their chart, how do you encourage them to work with it?
yes, good. Just be mindful. Be mindful. Then being mindful, it's a lot.
Now, Grace asked the question, she imagines guiding planets are affected by the signs. Could you just briefly comment on that?
Yes, of course. So if you have, wait, 1 second. Mars in Taurus. First, I have to write down 1 second. Yes, if you have a guiding planet in fire, you will react fast. If you have in Earth, you will structure your reaction. If you have air signs, you will make interconsultations, find other people, or Google it, or ask ChatGPT. And if you have water, first you will have an emotional reaction. Maybe first you need reassurance and soothing your emotions before reacting, or have a very empathetic approach to the problem. Is that an answer? Is that a possible answer?
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the whole kind of like way for someone to come into the question. Thank you, Victoria. Now, Thomas Howard Sr. asks, what were you going to say about Spica? He saw that on the slide, but you didn't mention it.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have to do a second part. Yes, Spica start. Yes, Spica start. It's can I no, I wait, sorry, I'm looking for the slide. Spica
You'll
start.
have to reshare.
Yes,
Yeah.
Spica start is okay. I'll sorry, I'm going to okay here. So Spica star is a fixed star. Yes, right. It's one of there are several fixed stars, so that they don't move. Stars don't move. They are always there. It's now in 23 of Libra from the point of view of the Earth. It's in 23 of Libra, so it's one of the luckiest and most beneficial stars in astrology. It's one of the most visible topics such as success, fame, abundance, and prosperity. Look where you have the 23 degree of Libra in your chart and see when it is activated. Each time the moon passes through that zone, it takes the vibration of the star and drags it for more than 2 days for you. So it is very prominent in people that experience notoriety and exaggerated social elevation. Okay, so just look where it is in your chart and where it's activated. So most of us will have it activated simultaneously, but in different areas of your life. And it's different if you have it in the 10th house, very visible, or if you have it conjunct your moon or your sun or your ascendant. That you will find in people's, I don't know if being famous is a good or a bad thing. It's case by case basis, but many prominent people have a prominent Spica.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. Thomas says he has it exactly on his Neptune, which is perhaps why he is wondering. How would you interpret that?
That's very confusing. That's why he's wondering. Yeah, well, I think you should. You will surely have luck, a lucky star in some kind of a spiritual or artistic endeavor activity. Well, here in astrology again, maybe you information flows through you. You're a channel, a vessel.
Fantastic. And would you be able to comment on the different types of happiness found through Eros or eudaimonism, and which planets are associated maybe with each?
Yes. So hedonism and eudaimonism. So hedonism is more gratification. Maybe it's Venus, or where your Taurus is, and eudaimonic would be Saturn, for
Hmm.
example, where achieve something in the long run. But it depends because maybe you have a Venus in Capricorn conjunct Saturn, so your gratifications are delayed and you are more eudaimonic. So case by case basis, sorry, that's very typical of a psychologist, case by case. So it's very hard to generalize, but think of gratification more as a Taurus thing, a massage, a nice meal, physical touching and all that. We need those gratification, but gratification are aspirins, They don't heal and they don't last. They're aspirin. So you have your cake, have your massage. That's part of the experience of being alive. We have a body. We're not only a soul. But don't forget on the long run. Don't forget what is peaceful, what will be lasting. As a Virgo Capricorn and Mars in Taurus, since I was very young, I always thought of leaving something for later. I'm very happy that I did. And I didn't live permanently in the gratification, in the ephemeral, because all that goes away. So what stays, it's what you studied, what you achieve, what you build.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. One final question. You mentioned the lot of spirit as vocation and the
Yes,
lot of fortune as profession. Could you
yes.
kind of explain a little bit how those two are different, vocation and profession, in your studies?
Yes, because many parents or young adults ask me, I don't know what to study, or maybe some of you come, oh, I want to change a career course, and I see the Earth houses, second, sixth, and 10th house. You look for Saturn, where you have the Earth signs as well, Earth houses and Earth signs. But then on a deeper level, I look for the a lot of fortune, a lot of spirit. Lot of fortune is where yes or yes you will have fortune. So maybe that's a good profession. Maybe you are, an accountant, or you work as a cashier in a bank or a supermarket, and that's where your fortune is. But that's not your vocation. So maybe you earned your money where you have your lot of fortune, and then you spill it where you have your lot of spirit. So and
Brilliant.
maybe your vocation is astrology, so you use that fortune. Some of us are lucky, and I quote and unquote, to be able to work of that what we love, but not always. Is that understandable?
Absolutely, absolutely brilliant, brilliant indication. So we're at 11:02. If anyone has any final questions, please post them. Victoria, I've got to say this is fantastic. It's like a 3-day workshop you've
Yes.
condensed into an hour here. So I hope people review the video and absorb all of what you presented. Some of it was like very novel, new, enthusiastic, incredible ideas. Thank you very much for sharing. Any final words or comments? Where can people find you?
Yes, I thank you everybody for your patience and for staying until the whole hour. Thank you, Opa, again. Thank you, George, and thank you, Suzanne, and everybody, Opa Astrology. Yes, my email is here in my name, in info at Victoria psychoastro.com. My webpage is the same, www.victoriapsychoastro.com, or just put Victoria Psychoastro on Google and you will find me everywhere. So thank you.
And thank you very, very much, Victoria. This was absolutely fantastic, a great contribution to professional astrology. And everybody have a good week. Thank you, Victoria, and see you all in January when we have Mallory presenting on how to use planets in detriment as focuses and points of hidden talents within the natal chart. Thank you, everybody. Take care and have a wonderful month. Bye-bye.